The arena was carved into a floating asteroid orbiting a dying star. Its walls were made of obsidian stone, cracked by time and war. Billions of beings across hundreds of planets tuned in to watch through screens, psychic links, or holographic feeds. They didn't come to see a fair fight. They came to see a human die. Jackson stood alone in the center. The glow of his armor dimmed, but steady. He didn't carry a weapon. He didn't raise his hands. He just waited. High above, the announcer's voice boomed in 10 languages at once. Today, the council brings justice. The human who dared to wear the ancient armor will now face the champion of Xeroc, the undefeated titan, Threxcole. A massive gate opened. The ground shook. Out stepped Threxcole, 12 feet tall, wrapped in blood-red armor, with horns that scraped the sky and a hammer made from a collapsed neutron star. He didn't speak. He didn't smile. He just pointed his hammer at Jackson and growled, "I'll crush the myth out of you." In the control room above, council leaders sat in silence. "This will end the human lie," one whispered. "After this," another said, "no one will believe a human is special." But far away, on Earth, in colonies on Mars, in mining stations run by humans across the stars, millions of human eyes were watching. They weren't cheering, they were hoping. The arena went silent. Then dash boom. Threx charged. He moved like a falling mountain. The first swing of his hammer cracked the floor where Jackson had been standing just seconds before. But Jackson wasn't crushed. He was moving, faster than anyone expected. He slid, flipped, and dodged, using speed, not strength. His armor predicted every blow, guiding him with perfect timing. The audience began to murmur, "He's still alive?" Threx roared and slammed his hammer down again, missing by inches. Jackson rolled, then jumped, delivering a strike to Threx's side. A shockwave rippled through the champion's armor. Threx stumbled back. The crowd gasped. Someone on a distant planet whispered, "He hit him." The fight continued. Brutal. Fast. Impossible. Jackson began to glow brighter with each movement. The armor was learning, adapting, matching Threx's power with speed, skill, and heart. Threx grew angrier. "You should not exist." Jackson answered, calm and steady, "But I do." He dashed forward, feinted left, then struck with all his force to the right, shattering Threx's knee armor. The champion dropped. Jackson didn't stop. He launched upward, flipped, and drove his fist into Threx's chestplate. Crack. The giant fell to one knee, panting. Jackson stood before him. Threx looked up, eyes wide. "What are you?" Jackson's voice echoed across the arena. "I'm human." "That's enough." The crowd went silent. And then slowly they stood, not to cheer, but in shock. In respect. In belief. Back in the council chamber, no one spoke, because they knew. The message had already spread. The human they mocked. The battlefield was quiet now. Ash drifted through the air like soft snow. Cracks in the arena floor still glowed from the energy of the fight. Jackson stood in the center, armor humming softly, his chest rising with slow, steady breaths. The champion, Threxcole, lay unconscious behind him. The council's strongest weapon defeated. But Jackson didn't celebrate. He didn't raise his arms. He simply looked up at the sky and smiled. Far above, in ships and cities and colonies across the stars, people watched with wide eyes. Human children who had never felt strong before now stood taller. One young miner on Mars whispered, "He's like us." A human medic on a distant space station cried softly, holding her necklace tighter, "We're not small anymore." Across 100 worlds, humans who were once ignored, bullied, or forgotten suddenly belonged. Back at the Galactic Council, silence filled the Great Hall. No one dared speak, until one elder finally stood and said, "He cannot be controlled." Another replied, "No, he must be respected." And a third added, or followed. That word "followed" sent waves through the galaxy. Meanwhile, Jackson returned to the ancient ship on the forgotten moon. The armor slowly peeled back from his body as he stepped inside. His face was tired but calm. Aegis spoke once more. "You did more than survive, Jackson. You changed history." He sat down beside the ship's glowing core. "I never wanted power," he said. "I just wanted to matter. Now you do. To many." There was a long pause. Jackson looked out through the ship's cracked window at the stars. He didn't feel small anymore. He felt ready. A message went out from the ancient ship. Jackson's voice echoed across every human channel in the galaxy. "I am not a king. I am not a god. I am just one of you. And if I can rise, then so can you." The very next day, the unthinkable happened. The first United Human Alliance Army was born, not for war, but for protection. For peace. Alien leaders watched as humans began building, not weapons, but unity. And many aliens, young and curious, reached out and said the words never said before. "Teach us how you fight with your heart." And Jackson? He didn't stay on the moon. He didn't hide. He flew into the stars, his armor glowing like a shooting star across the sky. People didn't call him a soldier anymore. They called him something else. The first flame. The human. Who awoke the stars. The one who wore the armor. But to those who knew him, he was just Jackson, a human, and now, a legend. They came like shadows, silent, fast, and deadly. 6 alien hunters in black armor dropped through the sky above the forgotten moon. Their ship didn't make a sound, no lights, no warnings. It floated above the wrecked land like a predator waiting to strike. Inside the ship, one of the hunters whispered, "We're not here to talk. We're here to bring the human back, dead or alive." The others nodded. "Weapons ready. Target is wearing ancient armor. Use extreme force." They had faced monsters. They had killed rebels. But none of them had faced Jackson in his new form. Not. Yet deep inside the ancient ship, Jackson stood in front of a tall mirror-like panel. The armor on his body adjusted with each breath, glowing softly along the seams. His eyes weren't the same anymore. They were brighter, focused, a mix of human soul and alien tech. Aegis spoke calmly. "Hostile units landing outside. 6 life forms. Highly trained. Danger level high." Jackson clenched his fists. "Why are they coming after me? Because they fear what you now carry. You are proof that humans are more than they ever believed." Jackson turned. "Then let's show them." He walked through the metal halls, heading for the surface hatch. With each step, the armor responded, shields forming, strength rising, senses sharpening. Outside, the moon's surface was dark and windy. Dust swirled around the broken bones of old battles. The 6 hunters moved quickly, surrounding the entrance of the ship. "He's inside," one said. "Let's take him." The doors opened. Jackson stepped out slowly, glowing slightly under the cloudy sky. His armor looked like something out of legend, sharp, sleek, and alive. His movements were smooth, almost silent. One hunter laughed. "Still, looks like a weak little human to me." Another raised his weapon. "Let's bring him down." But before they could fire, Jackson moved. He dashed forward like a streak of lightning. In one motion, his fist crashed into the nearest hunter's chest, sending him flying across the rocks. Another aimed a blaster. Jackson raised his arm, and a shield of light blocked the shot. Then came the counterattack. Jackson leaped into the air and dropped like a meteor, slamming the ground. The shockwave knocked 2 more hunters off their feet. He turned, eyes glowing, and spoke for the first time. "You called me weak. But you never understood me." The last 3 hunters regrouped. They used energy nets, grenades, even poison darts. None of it worked. The armor responded to every threat. It shifted shape, absorbed impacts, predicted attacks before they happened. One by one, the hunters fell. not dead, but defeated. Jackson stood in the center of the battlefield, chest rising slowly, armor dimming as the fight ended. He looked at the leader, the last one conscious, and said, "I didn't want this fight." "But you forced it," the hunter growled, crawling backward. "What are you?" Jackson stepped closer, eyes calm. "I'm human. That's all I need to be." He turned and walked away as the alien gasped in fear, not from pain, but from realization. This human was something different. This human had changed everything. Far away, back at the alien council base, a messenger entered the high chamber. "Report from Moon 47, he said. The council leader leaned forward. "And?" The messenger hesitated. "Our best hunters were defeated by the human." The room fell silent. A council member whispered, "He controls the armor, and it obeys only him." Another slammed the table. "This is dangerous. He could change the balance of the galaxy." The leader stood. "We must stop him before others start to believe in him." But it was too late. A single image from the fight had leaked. One shot of Jackson standing tall, glowing in alien armor, surrounded by 6 defeated hunters. And across hundreds of alien planets. Young humans watched that image, and they didn't feel small anymore. They felt hope. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was built from starstone and powered by black hole energy. It was meant to be unshakable. But today, it trembled. A huge screen flickered in the center of the chamber. On it played the same moment again and again. A human in ancient armor standing over 6 defeated alien warriors. The room buzzed with fear. "He cannot be allowed to live," one council elder growled. "He wore the final armor, and it obeyed him," another hissed. "The armor was made before our time. No alien ever claimed it, but this human did." "He is not just a soldier anymore," said the council leader. "He's a symbol." The word they didn't say out loud was the one they feared most. Legend. The vote was fast. Unanimous. Jackson of Earth was now labeled Class Omega Threat. Kill on sight. Far away, on the broken moon, Jackson sat by a fire inside the ancient ship. He was silent, staring at his hands. They didn't look like his hands anymore. Stronger, sharper, covered in armor. That moved when he thought. The stars above him didn't look the same either. They felt closer now, and heavier. He could feel them watching. Aegis spoke inside his mind. "The council has moved against you. Assassins are coming, the finest in the galaxy." Jackson sighed. "Of course they are." He stood and looked at the empty sky. "Why are they so afraid of me?" "Because you are a mirror," Aegis said. "You show them what they tried to hide. That humans can rise and lead." Jackson nodded slowly. "Then I'll give them something to fear." Elsewhere, inside a dark warship flying at near light speed, 6 new killers prepared for the hunt. They weren't just hunters, they were known as Void Fang, the Council's deadliest agents. Each had ended rebellions alone. Each had killed kings. And now all 6 were sent after one human. Their leader, covered in jet-black armor, spoke coldly. "No talk, no mercy. We kill him or we don't return." Back on the moon, Jackson stood in the ship's heart chamber. The walls around him shimmered with symbols. Glowing maps of the galaxy floated in the air. Aegis spoke again. "You have one chance, Jackson. Run or fight." Jackson looked at the stars and clenched his fists. "I'm done running." He stepped into the center circle. The ship responded. Energy flowed around him like wind. A long spear formed in his hand, ancient, sharp, alive. "I don't want war," he said. "But if they bring it to me, I'll end it." The lights around him flared. Outside the ship, the air cracked with energy. The Void Fang killers had arrived. One touched the ground and sniffed the air. "He's close," another smiled. "He doesn't know we're already inside." But they were wrong. Jackson did know. He had waited for them. Inside the ship, the lights went dark. A deep hum began to rise. The armor glowed brighter. Jackson closed his eyes. This was no longer just about him. This was about every human who had ever been laughed at, pushed aside, treated as weak. This was about showing the galaxy that humans could stand and fight back. Jackson stood alone at the edge of the training field, his boots covered in red dust. Around him were dozens of alien cadets, tall, strange-looking, and powerful. Their eyes glowed, their bodies were armored naturally, and their voices boomed through the air. Jackson, the only human on the entire base, felt like an outsider. And every day, they reminded him of that. A deep voice echoed across the field. "Hey, soft skin, try not to fall again like yesterday." The others laughed loudly. Some slapped their knees. One even mimicked Jackson's slow run and tripped on purpose, rolling on the ground in fake pain. Jackson tried to ignore them. He looked straight ahead, gripping his training staff tighter. His skin was pale compared to the shining scales of the reptilian Proctor beside him. His armor looked cheap next to the advanced, glowing suits of the Zenthari warriors. And his strength. It was nothing like theirs. Why is this human even here? One alien said, "Earthlings are weak. They should stay on their little blue rock." Another joined in. "Maybe he's the base pet. Should we feed him?" More laughter. Jackson didn't respond. He had learned silence was better, but inside he burned. Not with anger, but with a need to prove them wrong. The training session started. The instructor, a tall alien with 4 arms and glowing silver skin, shouted, "Sparring time! Pair up!" Jackson stepped forward, hoping to find someone who would take him seriously. But no one chose him. Again. At last, the instructor pointed to him. "You, human, fight with K-Toll." K-Toll was the biggest alien in the group. 8 feet tall, built like a tank, with tusks curving from his lower jaw. His fists were the size of Jackson's chest. K-Toll grinned. "Try not to die, little man." Jackson nodded. His heart beat fast. His palms were sweating. But he stepped into the circle. The whistle blew. K-Toll came at him like a bull. Fast, heavy. Jackson dodged. The first blow barely. The second hit grazed his side, and pain shot through his ribs. He rolled, got up, and moved back. The aliens watching laughed again. "He's dancing." But then, Jackson used his speed. While K-Toll turned for another hit, Jackson slid under his legs and tapped the back of his knee with his staff. It didn't do much, but it made K-Toll stumble. A few aliens went silent. Some raised eyebrows. K-Toll roared and charged again. This time, Jackson got hit hard. He flew backward and hit the ground, groaning. "Pathetic," someone muttered. Match ended. K-Toll raised his arms in victory. Jackson lay still, staring at the sky. The clouds looked like floating icebergs. Later that evening, Jackson sat alone in the mess hall. His food tray was untouched. The aliens laughed, talked loudly, and ignored him. He stared at his hands. His body ached, but what hurt more was the feeling of being useless. Just then, his commander walked in. A stern-looking female alien named Captain Vera. She approached Jackson's table. "You fought with heart today," she said. Jackson looked up, surprised. "But I lost. Losing is part of learning," she said. "But I saw something different in you." He frowned. "Like what?" She leaned closer. "You don't give up, even when they laugh." She dropped a small holomap on his tray. "A ship crashed on a nearby moon. We sent a drone, but it lost signal. You're assigned to investigate, alone." Jackson's eyes widened. "Me? Why me?" "Because no one expects anything from you," she said. "And sometimes that's an advantage." Before he could ask more, she left. That night, Jackson sat in his small bunk, staring at the holomap. The moon where the ship crashed was covered in storms and forgotten by most star charts. The ship was ancient, maybe thousands of years old. Jackson didn't know why, but something inside him sparked. A feeling he hadn't felt in a long time. Hoped that the stars outside the shuttle window looked cold and distant, like watching fireflies trapped in ice. Jackson sat alone, flying toward the forgotten moon marked on the holomap. His hands were shaky on the controls, not because of fear, but because the silence of space felt too loud. The moment he entered the moon's atmosphere, his dashboard flickered. Warning, magnetic storm detected. His ship jerked, lights blinked, and the engines groaned. But Jackson didn't stop. He gritted his teeth and pushed forward through the thick clouds of green mist swirling like ghost smoke. Finally, he saw it. The ancient ship. It lay half buried in dark sand like a giant metal skeleton, twisted and scarred from centuries of storms. Its hull was cracked. Parts of it looked melted, but it still gave off a strange glow. As if it was breathing, Jackson landed his shuttle a few meters away. The wind howled around him as he stepped onto the surface. The moon felt dead. But the ship felt alive. His boots crunched softly as he walked toward it. A large door, shaped like a clawed hand, stood sealed tight. But when he got close, it hissed open with a sigh like it had been waiting. He stepped inside. The air was dry and heavy, but breathable. The lights flickered dimly, casting long shadows. Strange symbols glowed on the walls. Everything inside looked wrong. Not in a broken way, but in an old way. Too advanced. Too ancient. He turned on his helmet light and whispered, "What is this place?" Suddenly, a soft sound echoed. Thump. Thump. Like a heartbeat. Jaxon froze. Is someone here? He followed the sound deeper into the ship. Long hallways stretched out like veins. Walls were made of smooth black metal that shimmered like oil. The deeper he went, the more alive the ship felt. And then he saw them, murals, carved into the walls. Glowing faintly, they showed a war. Giant monsters with glowing red eyes fighting soldiers in armor that looked like they were made of light and stars. One warrior stood out. Smaller than the others, human-like. He wore a unique armor that shimmered like the sun. Under the mural, glowing text read, "The last chosen shall rise again." Jackson didn't understand the language, but he felt its weight. He stepped into a round chamber. In the center, floating in midair, was an armor suit. It looked untouched by time, dark metal plates. A chest core pulsing softly. Symbols ran along its surface, and it seemed to hum as he stepped closer. The heartbeat sound was coming from it. He reached out a hand slowly. The armor reacted, rising higher. A soft female voice echoed inside his helmet. Human signature detected. Soul match confirmed. Preparing for integration. Jackson's eyes widened. What? Before he could back away, the armor broke apart into pieces and flew at him, wrapping around his arms, chest, legs, and head. It wasn't painful. It felt warm, like stepping into sunlight after a cold night. Then darkness. His vision blurred. He saw flashes, a giant beast crushing cities. Warriors dying, a last human rising in golden armor, a great silence. Then a whisper, "You are the last hope." Jackson gasped and fell to his knees. The armor now covered his whole body. It moved like it was part of him. Light glowed from his hands. His strength felt doubled. His mind felt clearer. Then the voice returned. "I am Aegis. Guardian protocol activated. Welcome, chosen." Jackson looked around. The ship trembled slightly as if it was waking up. A new path opened before him, lighting up step by step, but far away. In the shadows of space, a warning beacon blinked red. A signal had been sent. Someone knew the armor had been claimed.